Hi, welcome to the Pursuit of Truth. So today is the 15th of March 2019, and in New Zealand a shooting took place at two mosques, or alleged shooting at two mosques. So I was listening to the news on Sky News, and they mentioned that there was that the perpetrator streamed it. So I went looking for that. I didn't expect it to be so easy to find. I actually found it on YouTube, strangely, but it keeps going. But it keeps saying that it's removed by user. So I don't know if YouTube are warning people or they're removing them, and it just says removed by user even when YouTube do it. So it's difficult to find it. I'm using the search New Zealand shooting stream, and you have to go through them and try and find it. There are bits of it that are used, I think, on BBC News, but it's not like the whole thing. But I think the whole video is 2 minutes long, the stream I've seen. And well, actually, it might be longer than that. I think the first one was 7 minutes or 9 minutes, but there was the one I just found now was 2 minutes. Because of the longer one, it shows the man's face, and in the things that it made me question about it. Now, I don't know, I'm no gun expert or anything like that, or so this man walks in with a gun, he shoots people at quite close range, and he goes through to the mosque. He shoots more people. A person charges at him, shoots him at close range. Then he goes into the area and starts shooting. There's someone standing up. Now, everyone seems to be in the corner. So they're both in one side is in the left side of the mosque, and the one on the right side. So if this was Jummah, Friday prayers, I don't know what time it was. So I think they said it might have been 3 p.m. So I suspect the prayers had finished. So he probably didn't pick the time when there would have been as many people in there, because usually I think Jummah is normally about 1-ish, isn't it? 12 or 1. So they'd have a sermon and then pray. So if that's the case, that they didn't all just get up from the position they were in and run to the corner. And it just seems to be very strange that they all piled up in the corner, laid down in the corner, and they didn't seem to make any noise. I mean, in that kind of situation, I would have thought you'd be panicking. You wouldn't be able to help it. I mean, I understand why some people may have wanted to lie all together so that they could appear dead or be shielded by each other. I don't know. It seems unusual that they're in the corners like that. It's a very distressing video if it's true. I mean, the thing is, because we see the event has unfolded on television, our initial belief, actually, that's probably the best word, is that it's a true event. And then anything that questions it afterwards, it's like when someone comes to you, if they tell you a lie, the first thing you hear is the thing you believe. And when someone comes and tells you the truth, you find it difficult to believe that, because the first thing is the most important part of it. So even me, I'm having trouble to think, is it possible this could be a hoax, a false flag? But I would have expected to see more blood, especially because after they shot him and walked past them, you'd expect a pool of blood. Now, I don't know if that's because of Hollywood, because we're used to watching Hollywood movies and seeing how things are there, and they may not be realistic, like shooting through cars doesn't kill you if you're on the other side. So maybe, it takes a long time for the blood to come out. Maybe it depends where it's been pierced, what kind of bullet it's used. I don't know. I was expecting more blood. And I went on there was a live streaming event with this British guy, had a British flag behind him. I think he was an ex-soldier. And I asked these questions. The only point that that he answered was about the blood. He claimed that you could see blood when the man charges towards the alleged terrorist, and he shoots him at close range. He said you see blood splatter. I watched the video again. I didn't see that. Maybe he slowed it down. I haven't slowed it down. after watching it, it does give you a very uneasy feeling about seeing this, and that's why I understand why they don't show it on television. But the problem is, without showing these things on television, it's difficult for us to, like, if someone tells you this event and they give you enough evidence, then you're going to believe it. Whereas if you've seen what I've seen, you may think, wait a minute, well, this is a bit strange. Why is there no blood? Or why they're not screaming? Why they're not, there are a few people running about, maybe two. They seem to be in the distance, but when he's up front in the actual mosque area, the praying part, to the left side corner and the right side corner is just people already in a huddle. And I would have thought, when you shoot them, they'd scream, even if they want to pretend to be dead. If you get shot, surely you'll be in pain, and you won't be able to stop that kind of reaction. So I don't hear any real screaming and pain. I don't know what kind of microphone he was using. Maybe that's why it's not getting picked up, because the bullets, when they're firing, are overtaking that sound. But I didn't hear it. It'd be interesting to see what other people think. If they, I suppose I should put a warning about watching that video. It's at your own risk of watching that video, if at all it's even possible to find. Yeah, but I don't know. I mean, it could be genuine, but it's just the problem I saw when I saw it were just those things. But maybe there are reasonable answers for it. I suppose the problem is if this was going to be a staged event, a false flag, as it were, then why would they have got things wrong? Why would they do the live streaming? But then again, I know I've always said that why isn't it that they don't do live streaming when they've got things like Periscope and Facebook and YouTube and all stuff like that, and everyone streams everything these days. So why don't these people stream this stuff, especially for a propaganda kind of reason? And as terrorists want to, the fear is the main aspect of it. So maybe it's just, I suppose the counter argument would be, well, because people are asking why they don't stream, that's why in this staged event, if it is, that's why they've had to do it. But then again, why would they? I suppose the thing is then, I suppose it depends, who's doing it and their budget for the shooting, and maybe, I suppose if these stage events are done by, we assume big conglomerates, whether it's governments or whoever it is, you would think they'd have enough money to employ actors and enough to, blood and effects and all that kind of thing. If you look what Hollywood movies are able to do on a few £100,000. But then again, maybe it's also because of maybe those bodies in the corner were already dead bodies, and the less live people you use, the less that can talk about it, I guess. If you're going to keep this a secret, because obviously those people will know once they see it on television that they were part of a staged event, if they were got through casting, or if they're employed, or if they're already agents, then you'd need, to fill up a mosque, if you're going to say 49 people currently they're saying have been killed, you'd have to have 49 people to at least in the shot. Well, I think it's 2 mosques. I think a few of them is it 40? I think one mosque. So if that was the 40, it didn't really look like 40 to me. But the thing is, because they're all in the corner already, waiting to be shot without making any noise. That's I think the thing that I don't understand is you would have thought they'd be screaming. If you're shot, no matter how strong you are, it's a natural reaction, Even when you trap your finger in the door, you make a noise. I don't know. It is very difficult. I'd like to hear what other people think about it, but the problem is to do that, you're going to have to watch, if you can find it, the stream, and if it is real, then that could it's psychologically, well, not damage you, but You know what I mean? It is sometimes when you see these things, they take a long time to get out of your mind because they're so shocking. But in some ways, I know why the media doesn't like showing these things, because obviously, you know, you'd have people complaining and throwing up and, you know, getting all worried, and it actually probably would strengthen the terrorists, if they are so-called terrorists, mission. But the thing is also by seeing these things, you actually understand the pain and suffering that people go through that you can't by just mere words. You know, when I see the man that when he shoots and then he walks through and there's a man crawling on the floor, you know, like you see in movies, and then he shoots him from his back. I mean, when you see that, you feel that fear, you feel that trying to escape with no possibility, and the fact that you can rewind and see a person alive and then dead, and then someone charging, you know, to try and stop the person, to try and be a hero, to try and save other people, but to die, and then all the people that he tried to save to die as well. So I think censorship, I don't know if it's important or not, because the problem is it's the same with war. You know, if people saw, you know, I remember when I saw the film Platoon, that opened, I mean, I know it's a film, but that opened my eyes to what war was really like. Because before that, I'd seen, you know, British war movies, you know, with John Mills or whoever it was in them, and, you know, they were sanitized, you know, there was no blood and people get killed and they instantly die and all that kind of stuff. You know, these kinds of war films that people were brought up on that glorify or you know the war, and you know then people run around with pieces of wood in their hand and pretend to be shooting you know, as if, you know, without the mental effect that actually if you were there you wouldn't be doing that. But when you saw the film Platoon, I mean, that was like, whoa, is this what it's really like? And that's a film, so imagine what it's really like. I mean, that would explain why all these, you know, soldiers come back with these syndromes, because people don't die instantly, people die painfully, and to take someone's life. So without showing these things, we don't realise, you know, it's easy, because then, you know, without showing that, then you think of war as this, you know, it's this necessary thing, and when your country, so-called country, has to go to war, it's easy for you to just, you know, say, yes, back them, yes, go to war, you know, help the minority or whoever the cause is about, because you have to have a just cause to have people back you, because then they can let go of the idea of killing people. But if you actually saw, you know, live killings of the soldiers of your country that you sent there, that you backed there, that you've, you know, you're helping pay for, the blood of them is on your hands as well. If you saw, you know, what they had to do and do, I don't think there would be many people that would sanction war. So sometimes I think it may be painful to watch these types of things, and I obviously I don't want children to be watching them. Anyone under 18 or 16, I don't know which age it would be, I don't think they should be watching these kinds of things. But and that's the problem, that the media would argue that, well, we can't put it on after 9 o'clock because there could be children there. But I think it's important as a species that we don't hide things from each other, because then, you know, how are we able to make a proper evaluation, or you know, like, if people had seen what war was really like, they probably wouldn't back any more wars. But then maybe that's why governments and media doesn't allow these things to be on television. That's I've answered my own question, haven't I? But I think it's important that we have the opportunity. You know, I suppose now with YouTube you do, but the problem is the video is taken down quicker than anything. It's funny, they can take down these kinds of videos instantly, they can find them so easily, but when it comes to, you know, the paedophile videos, when it comes to other types of videos, you know, when people complain about nudity and on YouTube or Facebook or Twitter or Periscope, you know, whatever, or they complain about paedophile stuff, those videos stay on there for ages. So It's funny, isn't it? How they can act when they want to act. But I do think that when it comes to these types of events, wars and terrorist types of things, I think there should be a way that people can access these things so that they, otherwise you're just getting told words. Because if you watch the BBC News or Sky News or CNN or ABC or Australian 9 or whatever it's called, if you watch those, or New Zealand, whatever theirs is called, I should be saying, if you watch their news broadcast and they show you sanitised pictures of people talking about an incident that took place that often are friends of friends or weren't actually there or only saw a small amount of it, and obviously remember, witnesses are not very reliable when it comes to certain things, especially in these kind of traumatic events, and then you've got actual footage, assuming it is real, then without seeing it, it's easy for you to have a different kind of, what I mean is we know that if I explain to you what I saw, and if you see it, it's different. It's the same as if you witness it as well. That's different as well. If you witness it, you get the full effect. You'll understand that truth 100%. If you see a video of something, assuming it's validated and true, you may get, I don't know, say 80% of that feeling and that truth. If you get someone explaining to you words, I think you get less than 50% of that feeling and that truth. And also, the problem with those words is that they're constructed. And that's the big problem, because with seeing it yourself, it's not constructed. You're seeing the actual event, as it were. And then if you see on the video, yes, you're seeing from someone's point of view, but it's only, well, I guess that could be constructed, but it depends how it was edited. If it was unedited, then yeah, you can say that it's not. But if it's a broadcast, a journalist speaking to you, it's easy for him to choose what he's going to tell you and what he's not, how he's going to report it to you, what kinds of words he's going to use, what kind of emotions he's going to bring up, whether the language that he uses actually conveys the actual truth of what has happened. And that's where agendas and things like that come in, and censorship. So yeah, I don't know. It's another difficult one. That's the problem with all these things, Only the people really there would maybe have a good idea of it, assuming any of them are real, or in the way that everyone on television that have been spoken to could be actors. Is not an impossibility, because we make movies as species. We make movies all the time. We make fantasies all the time. We love fantasies, and if you watch movies these days, they're so realistic. Even with the new one from James Cameron, not Avatar. It's another one. I can't remember what it's called. But it's a live action with an animated character in it, and is it Alliator or something like that? It looks so realistic. So yeah, we're getting even better. Soon we won't need actors. And I said this a long time ago that that would be the future of movies. That we can have movies with people who have long died, and they'll be making movies in the future. Because you'll just be able to scan all their movies, scan their voice, and you'll be able to reanimate them, and they'll look exactly like they did in the movies that you saw with your own eyes, but they'll be dead. Well, assuming that they can get there. Well, they won't even need the estate's permission, because they'll be over 100 years. So, yeah, I suppose they can do whatever they like as long as they own the movies, because they own the footage. And no one ever signed a contract that they couldn't make AI out of them. That'd be a new clause, wouldn't it? Now that I've said it. Anyway, I've waffled long enough. Take care, take it easy. God bless, and peace.